Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first podcast here on Casting Shadows. I'm Jeremy Manthi here with AK. AK, how are you?
Good, how are you?
So, we had a couple topics here that we wanted to discuss with each other. Um, as mostly everybody knows, Oko was banned in Modern, as well as Michael Lattice and Mox Opal. So, first off, I just kind of want to ask what are your thoughts on these bannings?
I really like the bannings overall. I think that Oko needed to go. I feel like everyone knew that Oko needed to go. Like, granted, it really slowed down the modern metagame as a whole. Like, we used to see these crazy, turn 2 kills or turn 3 kills with Hogak when that was a big thing. And then, is it Phoenix? And that slowed down for a bit. Then it popped back up again with Anima Titan. But then Oko got introduced. And at first, I kind of liked it because it slowed everything down to a pace. Like, it was back to just, elking my artifact to try to hit you and making blockers, stealing your stuff. But then it kind of got everywhere. Like, Oko was in every single deck. Every deck that could play blue-green was playing Oko. If they weren't, it was just because they couldn't afford it or something. I mean, I'm sure you saw the meme on Twitter by Allison Warfield, who's a Magic player, that Burn was running Oko with Mistress Bauble,
Yep.
and I think that was the moment when people are like, well, this needs to go. So
And they originally did that as a joke, and then next thing you know, I think it went like 5-0, maybe 4-1
yeah,
at
it
worst.
did. It was actually pretty good, And then like the biggest offenders were the Urza decks because they could just crank out this mid-range battle that was really impressive, and they could just finish the game with turning their stuff into Elks and swinging in, or slowing the game down, turning your stuff into Elks. And it just neutralized archetypes. I know some Lantern players on Twitter were just like, my deck doesn't exist because Oko. And then I originally, like I said, I was hyped because as a GDS player, I was pretty pumped. Like, okay, here's this mid-range strategy I can prey on. But it was just so many Okos at one time I couldn't handle it. So GDS was eliminated from the format. 4-color Shadow, Grixis Green started popping up. When Death Shadow's running a card that says you gain 3 life as a Planeswalker, there's a problem, I think. So Mox Opal, I think that we can agree that's been on chopping block for as long as we've been playing Magic, which is about 3 to 4 years. We've been like, Mox Opal needs to go. So that was fine. Michael Lattice, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the whole Lattice?
That's what just kind of piggyback off what you said about Simic Urza. Some of the stats like they put in there, it earned the most 5-0 trophies in Magic Online leagues and maintained a non-mirror match win percentage of more than 55% over the weeks before it got banned. So that was just like, yeah, Oko needs to go. They had a winning matchup against 9 of other 10 most popular competitive decks.
That's too much.
like these most popular decks, like they can't even keep up with these kind of decks. But yeah, like you said, I think Mox Opal's always been on the target list. I kind of thought about it myself. I think it's been like at least a minimal target ever since Faithless Looting.
Yeah, everyone was like,
when it was popular, I believe like Faithless Looting, Ancient Stirrings, and Mox Opal were always like
when KCI
could be possible bans.
Especially when KCI was big, people were like, okay, KCI is going to take the hit, and then Mox Opal would take the hit too, and then people were talking about Ancient Stirrings going. But then when KCI got neutralized, I think only Infinity just played it. Infinity is kind of just like, people don't like losing to it, but everyone respects it as a deck. It's just a fair, fun, super bunch of creatures. Here's a cranial plating. It's a fun strategy. So, but the problem was as soon as like a good artifact gets printed or an artifact enabler, like Urza, Emery, Oko, Mox Opal is just a 4 of.
Yep. It's an automatic. I mean, it's 0 mana and gives you any kind of color, so it's just like. But yeah, like you were saying on the Lattice thing, I could have swore I read something that it was banned because of like future printings. But I could not find who said it.
I thought I heard that too. I also saw that like it just led to unfun games, which is understandable. I feel like that response is a little weak though, because I'm like, okay, well, Chalice isn't fun. Blood Moon isn't fun.
There's a lot of cards that are not fun.
Ensnaring Bridge isn't fun. So like banning on that sole reason I think is kind of silly. But I could see where they're like, we don't want to just neutralize the game, And Eldrazi was dominating, and the Lattice Lock was real, and it felt bad. Like, at least Blood Moon, you're able to fight it out,
Yeah.
But Lattice was like, I can't do anything unless I have creatures on board. But then it kind of negates control strategies. No pun intended. With
Then they would have just grabbed Ensnaring Bridge instead of Lattice.
Exactly. So
like,
it's just
whatever game plan you were on. It was. I think it was a solid ban. Even though I never really ran into it a whole lot during tournaments and all that, but the times that I did, it was just kind of nasty.
You don't need Lattice. It's like overkill. You know, it'd be like giving Death Shadow a probe, but only for itself. Like Contaxium Probe, only play this if you have a card named Death Shadow in your deck. So it's too powerful. Like Death Shadow doesn't need probe. I would love to have probe, but does it need like another card to make it that good? So, like I said, but my heart goes out to all your Mox Opal players and stuff like that. Me and Jeremy were pretty big into looting decks, and so when that got axed, granted, looting is, well, I think it was like under $1 when we bought ours.
Yeah, it was cheap.
And Mox Opal it was like pushing $100 when it got banned. That being said, our decks didn't function after looting got banned. So that alone was the whole
even though looting was cheap, the cards that we had in those decks that were fed by
the whole archetype, yeah. You were a big Hollow One player. I was I loved Grishel brand, which is the whole like Boreos Vengeance and then Shoal, and looting made that deck. Without that, I could try instantly and it doesn't feel well. And then Dredge, and then Phoenix, Mono Red Phoenix. So we feel you. We feel your pain. We hope that you make your money back through Legacy sales and Commander sales.
We talked a little bit about Urza decks. Do you think that with Opal and Oko being banned, does this essentially just kind of kill off Urza? Is this going to be like an Is It Phoenix? Because they've kind of had a couple events where they did pretty good, but is this kind of like an Is It Phoenix where they try to replace it, but ultimately it'll just end off dying?
Because it's a hard question because it can go one of two ways. Like you said, like how when looting got axed, and Is It Phoenix was going to try to replace it with what's the 2-mana?
Is It Charm?
Is It Charm, right? That was a big thing. People like, let's run Is It Charm. It's fine. And I just remember people like, Is It Phoenix isn't dead, and it was like, I'm like, okay, so I'm like, maybe it isn't, and then it just stopped to exist. I don't see it anywhere.
Because it started off exactly like Urza's doing, where it had a couple good events, and then after that, it was just like...
I see some diehard players on Twitter, like, loving Urza and really trying to make it work still. I think Urza's a very powerful card, but I don't know, only the future will tell. That's the thing, like, when Bridge got banned, I'm like, okay, Hogak's fine now. Like, Hogak's not going to be a defender, and Hogak was still super good. So... that being said, like, will it go the Hogak route where Urza itself needs to get banned, or will it go the Is It Phoenix route where just cutting the pieces will be fine enough?
And even, so I was kind of looking up like some of the Urza style decks that they're trying to play now. They had a Tamir Urza list that went 5-1. Played Emery, Urza, the new Euro Titan, and then they also threw Renin 6 in there.
Yeah, just to get value back with lands.
And then they replaced obviously Mox Opal with Mox Amber, which
I've seen that for
which is interesting with Urza, which is good. And then there's a Grixis Urza deck that went 3-2 with Goblin Engineer, Emery Urza.
Yeah.
So, and that also included a Thopter Foundry.
Yeah, now they're back on that combo because before it was like, why am I gonna run this if I just have Oko to overwhelm? Also, like you want to play Thopter Foundry, Sword of the Meek, and they go tick up Oko. Turn your Thopter Foundry into an elk. It's like, okay, there goes my combo. But now you can safely play the combo if you have like, who knows, like a Welding Jar to protect it against like an Abrade or something, or Kulligan's Command. So overall, I think it's okay.
So I'll just kind of piggyback off of that. Which do you think will be the better kind of style? Because you got, like I said, Tamir Urza with Emery, Uro, and Renin 6, or you have Grixis Urza. This one plays Word of Intervention. This one has that combo piece. Do you think either one will be favored in the long run?
I like Teamer because Renin 6, if it ultimates, just wins. If you have like a Galvanic Blast in the yard, you can just keep on chaining it. But Grixis was pretty... I don't know if you remember in the Hogak era, Grixis Urza was a really good deck. Like, everyone said, like, once Hogak gets banned, Urza will be super good, which they were right. So I lean towards more of the Grixis because you can go find it with Goblin Engineer. You can chain stuff with the Curl Wellspring. So it's a super cool... I lean more towards the Grixis side. But then again, the Temur Urza list can easily run Goblin Engineer too, because that's it. The black they mainly smash for is like fatal pushes and thought seizes and
the
stuff
generic
like that.
sideboard cards.
Yeah, exactly, or maybe some in the main, So overall, I think it's up in the air. I think it's definitely we have to wait and see who's going to be on top.
So yeah, obviously with those bannings, that kind of just knocked that deck off the top list. So what do you think these bannings mean for Modern? Like, what kind of decks do you think will kind of overtake Urza and become the top decks in the format?
I think obviously people right away think Amulet Titan's going to be a problem. Everyone's already talking about Amulet Titan being really good, especially with the printing of Euro. Because Euro is busted. He's so good. It just annoys me how the Simic colors have gotten so good. And it's like, oh, we ban Oko, but here is Euro, which is 3 mana, and
another
then
green-blue card.
Green-blue card.
Seems really strong.
Granted, it's like a sorcery growth spiral, but like, escape it in Modern isn't that hard. So, I think Titan will be pretty big. I think humans will maybe oversurge a bit because like when they go Titan attack and you go like Violent Reflector Mage bounce, that's like a big thing. But then now Titan decks have Field of Dead, which is a huge card that people really want to go as well. So I think my projection is going to be Titan, humans, maybe some Shadowless, like maybe some Grixis 4-color, Grixis green, Urza, and then stuff like that.
I tend to agree with you with the Titan decks. As soon as the bannings happened, I saw a lot of people on Twitter like, all right, well, Titan's going to be the new top deck, and I think that it will, even though people kind of expect it to.
Yeah.
I was looking at some of the events that happened on MTG Goldfish. While they weren't like big events, there were still enough to kind of try to base an example off of. So there were 7 events. Different style Titan decks were in the top 10 8 times, and they had like at least 4 different styles of Titan. They had Titan Field, Titan Shift, and Amulet Titan, and there was like a light of.
Oh, bring the light.
Yeah, bring the light with Amulet
Bring
Titan.
the light's great. Yeah, bring the light escape shifts.
So I kind of have to agree. I think Titan decks will be some kind of Titan deck, whether it's Amulet Titan or.
Yeah, they're gonna be big, but I feel like people are like, oh, gotta ban Titan now. I'm like, I think Titan's fine. Just get rid of Field of the Dead.
Yeah,
I think Field of the Dead is that card that gives them like that weird long game that they didn't used to be able to play, but now they are able to play. Take that away, and I feel like they'll be fine. Leave Primeval Titan alone.
I like Primeval Titan as a card. I mean, it's 6 mana. It's not like it's
you have to
Hogak
play.
where you can cast for
you have
free.
to play all these crazy ram spells, Azusa, the weird bounce lands, accrue lands. So I feel like it's fine on its own. Get rid of Field of Dead.
So
and
it doesn't need Field of Dead to just create an army.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's when they create an army and Titan is when it feels super unfair because you're kind of sitting there like, oh, okay, they get to play infinite chump blockers as well as the 6/6 trampler that gets them 2 lands and pumps it and gives a double strike. So, yeah.
I think another deck that could be interesting is Dredge. We kind of talked about that before with that new Ox card.
Oh yeah, the Ox Dredge looks really cool.
The Ox of Agonis, I believe it's called.
Yeah, big shout out to Magic Aids for putting out that video, showcasing it and stuff like that. There's also a guy on Twitter who's a huge Dredge player. I forget your name. I think it's Sodak MTG, but he's a really big Dredge player. I'll put his username in the link for the podcast and stuff, but he really likes the Ox too, and I think it's an awesome card. I think escaping it turns into a 5/3 that draws you 3 cards, and like if you have 2 Stinkweed Imps and like a Golgari Thug in the graveyard, you're dredging what, like 13 cards?
Thug is 4 dredge 4, I believe,
4.
So that'll be
14 cards with a 5/3 on board. Or you can naturally draw. Like, it's I think it's the shot in the arm Dredge needs to push past the looting.
They lost looting, but I think this card can be really good in it.
And Dredge is
I think I had a couple good results in those same events, so that's why I'm kind of thinking, as people don't really expect graveyard decks right now.
Exactly, that's a big thing.
That's when Dredge is most dangerous.
Because it ebbs and flows, and like, Dredge was hit by looting, don't get me wrong, but also Dredge plays weird cards like Shriekhorn. Like, it doesn't need looting to survive, like how Phoenix did, or how Grizzle Shoal did, or stuff like that. Like, it runs... I remember people were using Tome Scour to dump stuff, and like, they just want cards, so I think it's fine.
So you kind of talked about it before. You think humans could be a pretty decent deck in this new meta. What do you think about Jund? Jund is always one of those decks that are always popular, but how do you think it'll be in this new style of meta?
I like Jund a lot. It's hard to say because Jund usually pops up right when the meta is already established, so to speak, right? So we have Jund, and then Jund comes in and just like, okay, people are playing that deck, people are playing that deck, and they tune their sideboard, and it's a cool mid-range slogfest. So Jund is always a deck that I think people will play no matter what. Like, Jund players love their deck, arguably more than Grixis Death Shadow players, I think
so too.
because they love their deck, and I would too if I spent like $2,000 on it, like they did. So I think Jund's fine. I think the decks that people already are established will have because I don't know if you know, like you probably have gone through this. Like when Bannings happen, it's like everyone's like, oh my god, break the meta, let's break the meta, and they build all these random cool decks, and they're like, oh, I think this could be it. We could spike everything, and they go, and somebody goes, okay, here's Bobble, Street Wraith, Thought Sees You, Thought Scour, here's a turn 2 Angler, and I'm gonna kill you, and then they're like, oh, okay, or someone goes, like Shriekhorn, Dredge, 3 Creeping Chills, like, so the established decks always have a leg up on the brewers trying to break the meta, so to speak. So I think we're still pretty early. I know we're kind of getting late to the whole wagon when it comes to like the banning talks, but I still think we have to wait like a good month, maybe a month and a half after the big tournaments to see where we go.
Because even like MTG Goldfish, like their website still isn't completely updated because
they
don't even know what's going on.
I know. I see like Grixis Death Shadow has green in it, so it's technically Grixis green. It has like Okos. There's still like it's all over the place. I've even tweeted at Seth to change it, but he'll get to it eventually. So I'm excited to see where the modern meta goes.
So we kind of talked about Dredge a little bit. Could be a good deck. What is one underrated deck that you think will be good in this new meta?
That's hard.
Because obviously you got like humans and Jund. They're always like a name that you're familiar with, but there's one deck. What's one deck that you think kind of flies under the radar?
One deck like a dark horse deck kind of basically,
exactly.
Right? Okay, so I'm actually gonna just pull up the modern meta game real quick and just see if I can go through.
If you want to look, I can give you my answer.
Yeah, you tell me.
I'm gonna be a little bit biased here. I'm gonna go Crabvine.
You're gonna.
I'm gonna go Crabvine. I just built that. I'm gonna be using that for the first time, but I think if Dredge starts to become popular, Crabvine might take a little bit of a hit because they're starting to bring awareness to graveyard decks. So people are considering: do I play like Grafdigger's Cage? Do I start playing Leyline on my sideboard? But for the most part, when I hear about top decks in the meta, I don't really hear Crabvine, and it's put up a couple good results, I would say, in the meta.
I know Oliver Tomajko used it quite a lot in the past SCG events, and he did fairly well with it. So I think it's definitely a potential big deck. You can just spew out so much power for free. You're just trying to dump your library into your graveyard.
I think the addition of Crab and all that in there has made it a lot stronger. Just being able to ditch everything,
it's a fair Hogak. It's a fair Hogak deck, basically. It's because if you look at that list, it was Gurmag Angler should be Hogak technically, but obviously it's banned, so you have to use Gurmag Angler. But I'm gonna go with Mono Red Blitz. It is a top of the meta right now with MTG Goldfish. But I like it because it's just so powerful. It's basically the Mono Red Prowess deck, or it used to be Mono Red Phoenix, but when Phoenix got banned, they just went straight forward with like a bunch of Prowess creatures, so Swift Spear, Soulscar Mage, Bedlam Reveler, and just a billion cantrips. And it looks like it's legit. I think it's a pretty cool deck that has a potential to spike everything, and people know it, but it's hard to interact with it once they get a creature on board. So I'm gonna go with that.
I'll kind of cheat a little bit. I already gave you my deck. My deck's Crabvine. I agree with that. I think, like I said, they jumped it right to number 1. I don't know if that's just because all these decks just got banned. So like, all right, let's just.
I don't know personally. I know Ryan Overturf on Twitter is a huge Mono Red Blitz player, and I know he's doing some pretty big things in Archetype. So if you guys want to go check out his Twitter, he has tons of content on it.
I think that deck will be pretty cool. I always loved playing Manamorphose, even though I barely got to play it with as a Phoenix before Faithless Looting got banned. But just like that kind of style deck, Bedlam Reveler is such a cool card, like you said. I think it'll be a good deck. Another deck that I kind of thought was interesting, it was between Crabvine and this, is that Golgari Yawgmoth deck.
I am so conflicted.
I'm
on that
conflicted
deck
with it. I
because
just think it's cool.
Aaron Birch, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She did a great job with the deck and beat out all the bad guy Urza decks and everything. And I don't want to knock her success. Again, I think she did a fantastic job. Congrats to her. But I think she might have spiked it because it's such an odd deck that people weren't expecting.
Yeah.
You know, like, you sit down with that and they're like, okay, is he on 4-color Shadow? Is he on Urza? Is he on Mono Red? And you just go, like, Court of Calling, Yawgmoth, and, like, I'm going to do this crazy combo and kill you, like, game? Okay, alright, cool. Like, I don't think anyone's sideboards were tuned for it. No one was going to realize it was there. So I feel like she definitely picked the perfect time to play it.
Yep.
So, because that's a big thing with decks, is like once people start preparing for it, that's when your deck starts taking a beating, because everyone has sideboard cards for it.
And
so,
it is 4 mana for that card too. So
that
it's
is true, but I do run Hierarch and Birds and stuff like that, so they're able to pump it out on turn 2 or turn 3. So I think it's a cool deck though, for sure. I'm anything with cool, like Yawgmoth is a cool
It's still
card.
getting that power of green, like it's running Veil of Summer in the sideboard that everybody's kind of talked about, like please ban.
Veil of Summer is such a for a while I was on the bandwagon of getting rid of it because it's just like a 1-mana cryptic command. But I don't know, it's just like, again, if they would give us something that was like balance, you know, like green gets a super powerful card. Like, why doesn't blue have Force of Will or something? I don't know. Like, balance it. Don't just give green all this power. Give other colors their own versions of Veil of Summer. Make everything the power level equal. Because I don't like how green gets all this
Because
good
they've been
stuff.
kind of stacking green blue recently.
Ridiculous,
green and, and then like
green
you
and
got,
blue
like,
particularly too. Not even blue.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we don't even get the benefits of it.
Nope.
Like, as like a person who loves the Grixis color combo, I can't run on the blue cards because guess what? They got green attached to them. So it's just like, okay, cool, you know.
So they're really trying to make Simic decks continue to last, and then we're just sitting here. For example, we talked about the Euro card. Seems really good with Simic, and then the black-red giant for I forget what that card was called.
Croxus, the other
yeah.
Titan. He's super cool. I don't think he. Yeah, that's like.
Just like compare those two, like Euro has 3 different modes that will happen.
You get to
And
draw
then the
a card,
other one is
gain
just
a life. Yeah, it's
gain 3 life, and then
draw a card, and you can put a land from your hand to the battlefield. So compare that to like a 2-mana Raven's Crime. It's like, okay, cool.
and then you get the black-red one. It's just discard a card, and it's like,
and it maybe
just
do 3
one
damage.
mode.
Maybe bolt them if you're lucky. So I do think that's just like, wow, okay, thanks. You know, I was kind of bummed too we didn't get to see like the Dimir Titan or the Izzet Titan. I don't know if we'll get those eventually, but I really hope we'll see the rest of those come out.
Then last but not least, this is one of our favorite topics because we're both Death Shadow avid players. Which version of Death Shadow will be good for the new meta? You have Grixis Green, 4-color Shadow, and Grixis Death Shadow.
Grixis, okay. It's a tough one too because like I said, like when people are like, oh, I'm gonna build 5-color elementals and take it to a tournament and like I'm gonna break the meta wide open, and that person goes against a Grixis Death Shadow player who strips your hand of anything relevant and then lands a big threat and kills you in like 3 turns. Like that has an edge because it's an established deck. The 4-color deck, I know Michael Rapp is doing a lot of research, and I'm trying to get like the deck figured out and everything because they ran Oko too, so they needed something to replace it. I want to say I'm gonna lean more towards Grixis, but I can see where 4-color or Grixis Green will pop up. I personally like Grixis Green more because you have the relevancy and toughness of Gurmag Angler with Tarmogoyf. I know it sounds like a non-bow, but you can delve in a way that you can leave stuff for Tarmogoyf and refill it so quickly with Thought Scours and stuff. So I like Grixis Green. I'm gonna go with that deck. But again, if you're a Grixis player, now's the time to strike because everyone's gonna be building their fun, janky cards, and you can just come and spike a tournament real quick. You know, kind of like when John Holland won SCG Atlanta, everyone's playing Simic Urza, this new deck. Lotus Box people were all like, you know, dominating the tournament and spiking everything. He's like, I'm just gonna play Grixis Death Shadow and stub your threats, strip your hand, and land a threat. you know. So I want to say Grixis or Grixis Green are my 2 picks. 4-color, it could definitely go up there, but I do think that Grixis has an edge 'cause it's established, and Grixis Green has all the cool sideboard cards like Veil Summer, Assassin's Trophy, and stuff like that.
And that's what I'm conflicted about, because I think like the style of Grixis Green 4-color Shadow is really cool. Like you said, these decks came about because of Oko, mostly. And then they also, like you said, were playing Once Upon a Time, Veil of Summer, Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy. Like, these are really powerful green cards that have a lot of potential. So that's why I'm like, I want to lean towards the green version of Death Shadow, because these cards are awesome. But even I was kind of talking to you before the podcast about Grixis. Those 7 events that I was talking about with Amulet Titan, or with Titan style decks and all that. And Grixis Death Shadow has a 10th place finish, a 7th place finish, and a 5th place finish. Went 5-2, 4-1, 5-0, which was pretty good, because I don't want to say nobody expected Grixis, but like
people are trying to do their fun stuff, and then Grixis punishes you immensely for like.
And then everybody was more expecting the 4-color Grixis Green, so Grixis was just like. And then in those same events, Grixis Green 4-color Shadow never had a place. In the top 10 of any of those.
I think we have to wait until the next big tournament too, to see what do players show up with. If they're showing up with the Grixis, the traditional, black red, blue combo, or they're gonna pump out the green splash, or it's gonna be the 4-color versions with Tarmogoyfs and Traverses. We have to wait and see, because I want to definitely see where the meta pops out. But if I was players right now, I go straight Grixis, just because the meta's wide open and people are experimenting. Grixis Green seems like a super cool archetype with really good sideboard cards too. So those are my 2 picks. But I'm actually just bought into the Traverse version, so I'm interested to see how that plays. I'm going to see if it has a place in this new meta, or if I need to just switch it up and go back to Green or Grixis.
So I'm kind of with you there. I believe right now, just play Grixis until this meta changes. And if Green is that powerful that you do need to switch to it, it's an easy transition into Grixis Green. I think it's still really cool with, like you said, the Angler and Goyf package. And we even had that scenario earlier where you had to delve for Gurmag Angler with Tarmogoyf and still really didn't hurt it at all.
Yeah, no, me and Jeremy were actually playtesting earlier, and I was playing Grixis Green, and I had a Tarmogoyf on board and a Gurmag Angler, and I was able to just delve away only a couple cards and then pay the rest with mana, and his graveyard still had a bunch of creature types, so Goyf was still pretty huge. It was like a 5/6.
I was on the humans side of that. And
so he had creature. I think there was a Aether Vial. There was an artifact.
There was a couple different things in there. So
yeah.
And what was really hard for me, I think I had a Reflector Mage in hand at the time, is the Threat Diverse package, because it's like, well, I got Goyf that's a 5/6, and I got Gurmag Angler that's a 5/5.
Yeah.
I could, like, normally against Grixis, like, okay, I'll just bounce the Gurmag Angler. Then that just kind of nurse that, and then I just got to worry about maybe a Death Shadow. But now I have Death Shadow, now I got Tarmogoyf, now I got Gurmag Angler, like, which one?
It's hard. Also, like, Auroch Champion used to be like a slam dunk against Grixis, but now you have Goyf to just block it for days, which is really nice. I do have to say, though, the Traverse version, the 4-color version, traditional 4-color version with Traverse to Uvenwald, traversing for Plague Engineer feels absolutely amazing.
It was nasty.
It
was nasty.
You go search it, grab it, play it. Oh, another Traverse. I'm going to go search it, play it, grab it. It's just like, Traverse is so good. It's so hard to ignore it sometimes. That's why I think 4-color really has a legitimate shot, because it just can go grab any card in your deck when you have Delirium turned on.
Because you have that, not only that, but Once Upon a Time that goes 5 deep as well.
Yeah.
So you just have...
For free half the time, too. If it's in the opening hand, free. So, because you can have turn 1 Delirium with Cycle of Street Wraith, play a Bauble, play a Fetch Land, then you have an instant from your Once Upon a Time. That's Delirium right there. So it's like, turn 1 Traverse is possible for sure. Go grab any creature you need. So I think Traverse has a place, but I have to see how it does and where it shakes out with the modern meta.
And I don't think Traverse will ever be looked at as a card that's too broken. I would say out of anything in those decks, Once Upon a Time is on, like, at least the watch list.
Yeah,
and Veil of Summer is at least on the watch list.
I was going to ask, what do you think about Once Upon a Time with it? Do you think Because people want Once Upon a Time to go too.
It's like it can be really good, and like even when we played like that Once Upon a Time where you're like, all right, well I'm gonna do this end step and just look at 5 deep for free, and it's like that kind of sucks
creature,
to see, but at the same time, if you don't get it that first time, like it's gonna be 2 mana.
It's 2 mana, which is I think it's fine. I know there are plenty of players out there that say it should be sorcery speed, and I think even that would be pretty nice if it was sorcery speed and only 4 deep or something. But I don't know. I feel like it's good, but if it gets banned, I'm not going to be shocked the next day and be like,
agree.
"Oh my god! Like I can't believe they banned my Once Upon a Times." Like, no, I understand it could go, so I'm okay with it going.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would not be surprised if they banned it, but at the same time, am not fully convinced that it should be banned.
Now that like I said, like if it did, I don't. But the thing is, though, what if a creature combo like a devoted druid-esque deck, or the Yawgmoth type deck,
which those have been coming a little bit popular, even those same events.
Yeah.
Events that I'm talking about are modern preliminaries, modern leagues.
Yeah, the prelims.
I've seen a couple
online.
of those style decks pop up too as well. So
because once they start playing it, but then again, they get to run Eldrami's Call, which is 2 mana. Go grab any creature in your deck, instant speed, a blue or a white and a green. So it's like they already have that, but then again, it costs mana, unlike Once Upon a Time, which is free.
Which is you have that possibility that it could be free. When it's free, it's really good.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But
So
when it's not, it's 2 mana, so it's not as good. I think I don't know. I'm on the fence about it.
I'm on the fence for sure. So the cards to look out for, on the people want banned, are Veil of Summer, Once Upon a Time, and then Urza himself too.
So I'll ask you this: out of Veil of Summer, out of Once Upon a Time, which one do you think is more likely to be banned than the other?
I think Veil, because it leads to unfun moments, like Thoughtseize. Oh, Veil Summer.
Especially when you're playing like a blue deck, and they tap 4 for Cryptic. You're like, well, I just got 1 here.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me draw a card real quick.
I'll draw. Yeah, I will play my 1 mana Cryptic. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So I think that's more disheartening than I'm gonna cancel Once Upon a Time and go dig for a creature, because you could whiff too, creature or land. You could whiff.
Easily.
So. Especially if your deck isn't built around it and stuff like that. Again, it's not a shoe-in in every deck. Like your deck has to be built around creature or lands or something like that. So I mean, granted, it goes in any green deck. It's a for sure any green deck. But I think it's definitely an interesting card, and I understand if it gets banned. That's my biggest thing. I'm not gonna be crying if it gets banned. I'm like, okay, yeah. It was kind of like when I built Hogak. I loved Hogak. I played Hogak. Super fun. Turning out a turn 2 8/8 with trample was just, oh my god, it felt great. So, but when it got banned, I'm like, yeah, I saw it coming. Like I wasn't like crying about it. I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, my deck is gone. Like, how could you do this, Wizards? Like, no, I understand. Like, it was pretty busted. So yeah.
So, I had a couple a question here that I was kind of thinking about as we were talking about this. Assassin's Trophy, Abrupt Decay, some of these green cards have been about for a while. Why do you think just now would they transition with Death Shadow into 4-color Shadow into Grixis Green? Because it really wasn't a viable option before Oko.
Well, I mean, people will argue that because people love their 4-color versions. There are a lot of diehard 4-color Death Shadow players out there who will argue that it was always the best version of the deck. And for those people, I respect your opinion 100%. Because I do think it was a viable strategy before, too. I just think it was kind of, I don't want to say wonky. It just never felt like it, especially when Jund was huge, you could easily just get blown up by Fatal Push on your Goyfs and stuff like that. Because we had a big resurgence of Jund after Hogak with run-in 6s and stuff like that. But I think it, because Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay, those are fantastic cards, obviously. Traverse is fantastic. But, Grixis could ignore them because they relied on speed with Angler and really quick punching power. So, I think, but once Oko got printed, and then once Veil Summer got printed, and once Upon a Time got printed, it was all these cards that's like, okay, these are too good for us to ignore. Now we have to, dip our toes into the 4-color realm, So I know Dylan Donegan on Twitter is a huge Grixis Green advocate right now. He's really play testing for, I think, SEG Richmond. So if you guys are interested in seeing like Grixis Green in action, I know he is a really skilled player and could definitely help you out when it comes to like viewing his content and stuff like that.
And then, so I'll ask you one more question. We talked Veil of Summer. We talked about Once Upon a Time being possible bans. And Wizards kind of surprised us by getting rid of... We knew Oko had to go, but they surprised us a little bit more with Mox Opal and Michael Synth.
Yeah.
What if they just outright ban those cards? Does that hurt the green versions of Death Shadow? Will they just kind of say, all right, maybe these aren't the best versions, let's go back to Grixis?
So if you're saying if they ban Veil of Summer Once Upon a Time, would that
be enough to kind of knock those off the top of the format again?
I don't know if it would knock them completely, but I think it would even the playing field again. Like, so right now, the reason I'm playing Grixis Green and 4-color Shadow Right is I have access to Veil of Summer, Assassin's Trophy, Once Upon a Time. So that's like, what, 4 types of cards that can help me tons of my matchups. Where if 2 of those get banned, I'm like, well, I don't know, like I might as well play Grixis. Like, is Assassin's Trophy... Again, Assassin's Trophy Abrupt Decay, an amazing card, but Grixis, I always have the mindset, like, if it doesn't resolve, it's not my problem. So if I could just stub the threat or take it with a discard spell...
And then it's like 2 mana for those cards. It's like, is it easier to just go Fatal Push black mana?
Yeah,
Stubborn Denial blue mana?
Yeah, exactly. 1 blue, Stubborn Denial, take care of your problematic Liliana or Renin 6 or something. You know, so I think if Once Upon a Time and Veil of Summer get banned, I do think that Grixis will be the go-to Shadow deck again. Because right now I think the 4 colors kind of the go-to at this point, or the Grixis Green variant. But if those cards bite the dust, then I do think straight Grixis will be back on the menu. So it's difficult to say. We have to see where the modern meta shakes out and where the bannings land too. So overall, I like where the modern meta game is coming out. I think it's pretty cool seeing everything happen.
Okay. Well, that's going to wrap up our very first episode here for Casting Shadows. We're going to put a link in the description. We did make a documentary, me and him. It was kind of about the Grixis Death Shadow, about the history of Death Shadow. We kind of wanted to just have a project about Death Shadow because we do love Death Shadow archetypes.
I want to say going forward too that we are obviously with the name Casting Shadows. We are going to spend a little more time on the archetype of Death Shadow itself. So I will say that going forward, we'll have a little more like what's going on in the world of Death Shadow today kind of segment, maybe perhaps. So we can definitely touch on those because I know a problem with other MTG focused podcasts is I don't want to say they're bad players because some of them are fantastic, you know, but they're like, I think Death Shadow could play this, and it's just something completely unplayable in the archetype. Like, I love MTG Goldfish and their podcast with Krim and Seth and Richard, but I know when Castle Lochthwain got spoiled for Throne of Eldraine, that's the black castle where you draw. They're like, it could possibly go in Grixis Death Shadow, and I'm like, no, it could not.
I haven't seen a version yet.
In a million years, it could never go in it. It's so slow. It's clunky. It's like 4 or 3 mana with like it's terrible. But then again, Krim's a fantastic modern player, and so is everyone. All those 3 guys are awesome players, great people. But Shadow is such a specific archetype that really demands you to do your homework basically on what is playable in deck and what isn't. So it's kind of like you have to really do your homework when you test it and you go into
those flex spots, especially in Grixis, are like they're really tight. Like it's hard to find.
It's like, do I play 1 Culligan's Command or 0, or do I play the 3rd Stubborn Owl or 0? Like or 4. I'm sorry, don't play 0 Stubborn Owl. That's a bad take. So I will say going forward, we're gonna be talking about the Death Shadow archetype a little more in like a segment, like I said, maybe or perhaps or whatever. So we're gonna lean towards that. I mean, like, it's not a surprise with our name Casting Shadows. So I hope
we kind of did it in the podcast too. We had a bunch of other topics, but when we got to Death Shadow, we're like, all right,
we spent like 20 minutes on that. Yep. So too. So yeah, like I said, we're definitely gonna be skewed towards that a little bit, but we're still gonna talk about the modern game overall and everything about that. And then if you guys want Pioneer content, let me know. or let us know, and we can maybe work out something about that. Pioneer isn't super big where we play at yet. It started off really strong. It was like 25 people, I think 25, 35 people the first tournament we had for Pioneer, and now it's like 10. It's all like Raoul Lotus field decks with like random, like weird. I don't know. It's just Pioneer is so like random at the moment. It's hard to pick out. Like Chonky Red, I know it's really good at the moment, but like I said, we'll definitely touch on Pioneer and then perhaps Legacy. Just like I know Legacy players are hurting right now after the GP schedule got announced, and there were 0 Legacy tournaments. I think that's real quick. That's sad. I think Legacy's an awesome format. I think it's fantastic. It's just so sad that like it's not able to get out to more players because it's so expensive.
Oh yeah. That was one of the things I never really got into Legacy because it was, you look at some of the deck prices and it's like
a used car.
This is $2,000.
Yeah,
my used car like costs less than what this deck costs.
It's hard, like I said. I know I joke with on Twitter with like Pleasant Kenobi saying like IRP Legacy and stuff like that. But I really hope it doesn't die. I really hope that it stays relevant because I think it's such a cool format. And you get to play with such powerful cards like True Nemesis, Ponder, Preordain, Hogak, like Hindaturok, Oko, like crazy cards throughout Magic history. It's a bummer that people won't get experience, seeing that because Legacy is kind of being taken away right now. At the same time as Modern player, I'm like, Modern Horizons 2, here we go, because I real quick, I know we said we are going to end the podcast like 10 minutes ago, but I do think that Modern Horizons 2 is going to pump a lot more power into Modern to make it like Legacy, like Diet Legacy almost or something. Because now they're like, well, if you don't want to play super fast format or crazy cards, go play Pioneer with like tap shocklands and stuff like that. So
just kind of hope they give a color combination outside of Simic.
Yeah, can you give me days, Wizards? If you're hearing this, please give me days for Grixis Death Shadow, because putting days, returning Watergrave back to my hand to shock it again would be brutal and so punishing towards the other player. And people will get around because also days is pretty balanced once the turns go on. I could be biased though saying that right now, so who knows. But I'm excited for Modern Horizons 2. And I don't know if you saw, because it was kind of up in the air, like, would we get it? But then someone asked Mark Rosewater on Blogatog, when do you think we'll get Modern Horizons? He said, well, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So once he said that, I feel like
Modern players started salivating, like, yes.
Yeah, I know. Also, we start shaking our boots a little bit because
Modern Horizons had some powerful cards.
That's the thing why I don't want to see Urza get banned, because it's like barely anything made it through. It's like, at this point though, if you make those powerful cards, make sure you put powerful answers as well. So I think that. So hopefully we just see like them print. Also, stop with the watered down versions. I don't want what's the 2-mana snow Baleful Strix? What's that called again?
Oh, Icewing Quaddle.
Icewing Quaddle. Give me Baleful Strix. Stop it. I want Baleful Strix, okay? I don't want Ice Fang, where it makes you play blue-green again. Stop with the blue-green.
It's a trend here.
So, yeah. But, yeah. So that was our podcast. We hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll be back next week, same time, and we hope you guys had a great time.